afternoon. Thanks for joining us. Glad you could connect up with the town officials to communicate about what we all need to do to go forward with our next steps so that you'll be able to get your restaurants open for business. We've all been watching what the governor has been doing, releasing additional guidance for restaurant owners, and we've been trying to keep up to date with that and provide that information to all of you on two of the town's web pages, on the health department's web page and on our COVID response genetics web page. This afternoon, we're going to take some time and go over the rules and regulations for outdoor dining, and we're going to highlight the application process and try to walk you through that step by step so that we'll be able to get all the information that we need to review your outdoor seating plan and get those approved as fast as we can. We've received about a half dozen so far, and we've started to review those. In some cases, additional information is required, and the health department has reached out to you folks that have already applied and asked for that additional information. We're hoping that we can work with you this afternoon, explain what that process is, answer your questions in an effort to make it a quicker and easier review and approval so that you guys can get back to business and hopefully open up your restaurant beginning next week. I'm going to introduce Sego, our public health superintendent, and Sego's going to kind of walk through a presentation that we did to explain all of the steps involved with getting your application approved, and then we'll open it up to questions and try to answer questions. Thank you. Sego?
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Paul. Can everybody hear me all right? Someone give me a thumbs up that I can see. I want to make sure you guys can hear me. Great, thank you. If you're not speaking, if you don't mind to mute, it just cuts a lot of the background noise, makes it a lot easier. I'm going to share my screen, which means I won't be able to see a lot of you. So if there are questions, just holler up. And definitely, if any of the staff wants to add what I'm talking to, chime in. I see two sort of tracks that we have here. We're definitely going to address the outdoor dining application, but Angela and I are also here to address any of the safety standards, any questions on those that the state has issued. So we can deal with both of those issues, outdoor dining application and the safety standards. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. And for those of you on the phone that aren't on the computer, we will be posting this and sharing it on the website and everything. Okay. There's just a little delay. There it is. So the application and the regulations are on the town website, like Paul described. They're on the planning department website, and there's also links to it on the health department website on the COVID page. We have a food safety program page, but all of these resources are actually going to be on our coronavirus page. So that's what everything will be related to this. Oop, I think I have the draft. Uh-oh. My bad, I have the wrong version. I apologize. I'm going to unshare my screen for a minute because I have the wrong version up. I apologize, everybody. Just wait a second for me. I love technical difficulties.
Segal, I'm going to ask a question while you're figuring out your technical difficulties.
Thank you.
If you have already a patio and outside dining and you're not putting any tables out in front of your restaurant, does this affect you? This meeting, these guidelines, is this just for sidewalk dining or patio dining or everything?
Paul, I'll let you take that.
I think there's some, discrepancy on if it's just for the tables that we're putting out in front, or if you already had a license for outside alcohol and you have your own private patio, of these guidelines for that as well.
Paul, did you want to answer that, or did you want me to? I think Paul might have some technical difficulties too. I just want to make sure, but if you already have existing outdoor dining, this does not apply to it.
Thank you, Sego.
This is to add additional, and you pretty much in the public way. We wanted to make that process smoother.
Only for that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. Still working on getting the right version. I apologize, everybody here.
Also, Gal's working on that. Does anybody else have any questions we might be able to answer?
Hi, this is Maurice. How is everyone doing? I hope all is safe from B+. I'm sorry, I just joined in. I had only one question that I wanted to, among other questions that I wanted. Can I say it now? Can I ask it now, or would you like me to hold until we go with the discussions?
Why don't you go ahead?
Now, supposedly we have a thunderstorm. We have the tables outside, and a thunderstorm comes in. What would happen to the people outside? Do we leave them? Do we send them home? Do we bring them in? This is a tricky way that we don't know what to do. It's just confusing how we're gonna deal with this situation. Umbrellas or whatever, it's not gonna hold if you have a wind, or if you have a storm, or if you have whatever it is that comes in suddenly and rain starts. People are eating. How do we deal with the situation?
That's a good question. In some cases, so what we want to try to avoid is everybody running inside the restaurant all at once. In some cases, you may need to package up food and make it to go. But I think you're just going to have to work that out as it unfolds as best you can, using an understanding of all of the social distancing and the guidance that the state has provided to try to deal with the situation as best you can given the circumstances. I don't know if Angelo or Sego want to add to that response.
Yeah, no, I think that's completely correct, and especially at the beginning when we were not allowed to have indoor dining, they definitely can't go in. Eventually indoor dining will be expanded and allowed, and then maybe that might provide an opportunity, but they're going to be limited on the numbers. So I think that's going to be a management decision that each restaurant's going to have to make for their own. I see Angela has a hand up.
Hi, you might be addressing this later on, but I guess my first question with all of this is, are we as restaurant owners responsible for policing our patrons if they come to our establishment without a mask? I know that we're supposed to have masks on hand, but is this, is it our role to police our patrons to wear a mask when they're going to use the restroom, to remind them to do that? Obviously we have to post signage everywhere, but what is our role in that department? And, do we have to worry about it being enforced, if we're trying to do the right thing and, customers will do what they want to do?
Yeah, we're going to use your best judgment and effort, but it will be your responsibility to enforce it. And you can deny entry to somebody if they refuse to wear a face covering.
Okay. And from what I understand, from the guidelines, it's okay to remove the face covering only while they're seated at a table. Is that how it stands?
Correct.
Okay.
All right, I have the right presentation, so let's try it again. Okay, here we go. Just waiting for the delay. Okay, so as we said, the applications and the regulations are on both the planning and the health department website. And it shows you there exactly where it is on the town website. So we have revamped the website a little to just make it a little clearer. And we want to make sure that all the information is on there and any additional paperwork is included. There are 3 checkboxes on the application now because we do have additional processes that will be sort of required in addition to just the outdoor dining application. If you want, for example, alcohol using a tent or an outdoor heater, they just require some additional review by other departments. So we want to make sure we know that right at the get-go. Oh, and here it describes it. So additional licenses will be required from those departments. Again, part of the checkbox is to make sure that it's complete. If something is non-applicable, just note NA on it. We just want to make sure that you saw it and you acknowledged it and that you think it's not applicable to whatever your operation you're suggesting or asking to do, because it is an application that's trying to encompass a lot of different things. So we try to make it as encompassing everything as much as possible, but of course we're not going to be able to fit everything on the application. So if you think something doesn't apply, write NA. If we think we need additional information, the team will reach out to you and gather that. The biggest thing for us to review is really that outdoor seating plan. And it needs to be as detailed as possible. So these are 2 examples I sort of just found Googling it on the internet last night, and they don't have to be this fancy. They can be hand-drawn, but we need to have this type of information there. We need to know the exact number of tables. We need to know the seats at each table. I don't need to see chairs like this. You can just, draw in the square table and put 6 on it, or indicate somewhere in the narrative the number of seats at each table. You are limited to a maximum of 6 seats at each table. One thing that the safety standards asks for is foot traffic direction. I just want people to keep it in mind when they're drawing out their plans, that seating areas have to be also 6 feet from high traffic areas. Designating what is a high traffic area. For most of you, it'll be your entrance and exit. If you have sort of a takeout area where you think there'll be a lot of people coming in and out, you also want to move the tables away from there. We also want to see the locations of entrances and walkways around the area so we can determine whether they're high traffic or not too. The perimeter, whatever you're going to put around, identify what it is and where it's going. If there's any other things like serving stations or takeout areas, indicate those on the plan also. And then if any of those additional things that you have heaters or tents, those would have to be shown on the plan too. And if you have to do, a couple different drawings, we can sort of piece it together, but the more you put in the narrative and then put it on the plan, the quicker and easier the review process will be. If you have to go back and forth with a lot of questions, it's just going to hold everybody up. Make sure to attach the insurance certificate. I believe it's section 3 in the regulations. No, section 3 under Article 2. I want to make sure that insurance certificate is there. And then, like I said, in addition, we have to make sure that you meet all the safety standards, and we want to acknowledge that you have read them and understand them too in the outdoor dining application. So we really want to encourage you to submit it electronically. It'll, since a lot of us are working remotely also, it will make it a lot quicker to review and share among the departments. So encouraging electronic submissions, and you can send it to that email, health@norwoodma.gov. So we will review the application, probably have a little back and forth if we have any additional questions. Again, the more complex it is, the more detail you provide us, the less questions hopefully we will have and get it moving quicker. Then once it's gone through all the departments, it will be sent to the Board of Selectmen for the final approval. And again, those serving alcohol outside will be contacted for additional instructions. That'll be a separate application and process. Again, quickly went through and tried to find, there we go, some examples. The one on the top, I think, is a nice barrier, and you can see how it's sort of separated from the entrance. We might not have as big sidewalks as that, but the tables are clearly separated. The one on the bottom, I feel might look a little bit more like Norwood, but the tables don't quite look like the right distance apart, but it gives us some ideas of the type of barriers and how things could be set up. These are just two more. You can see the distance between the tables, and it's kind of separated from the front door a little bit, as much as possible. And some more in a parking lot. I like this one because it laid down the turf. I thought that looked nice. Again, in a parking lot. And then the one on the bottom left, I thought was just a nice small one. So you could see, you know, the scale can be whatever you guys determine, depending on the space. I think that's it. So I think we'd like to open up for questions. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry, before we do, I did want to sort of go over a few things in the safety standards also, because we have the outdoor dining, and then I want to make sure everybody understands the safety standards. I pulled out a few things that I think I just wanted to point out. Angela actually mentioned it, that the signage requirement, there is quite a bit of signage. Foot traffic direction, we want to make sure signage is around so people don't linger in common areas if you have a sort of waiting area. We don't want a lot of people gathering there waiting for their takeout or waiting for a table. Floor markings for directions. Ideally, an entrance and an exit that are different. Not everybody can do that based on your layout, but you know, traffic coming in and traffic going out so people don't have to cross each other would be ideal, but I understand not everybody can do that. And then, of course, making sure to have the mandatory safety standards in workplace posters that every business is required to have posted. We talked last time about ventilation and keeping doors open. Fresh air is great, especially when your employees are inside, so we want to give fresh air to them. And then eventually when customers come inside, we can open doors. Doors can be open to the seating area as long as the kitchen is closed. And we talked about that last time. You know, Angela and I did want to mention, a lot of times we get complaints if doors are open of insects flying around. So according to the food code, the doors can be opened as long as the kitchen is completely closed off in the seating area. But, you know, we do want to put that little asterisk on it that a lot of times people do complain about that. Screens are definitely preferred if things are going to be open, but, you know, we're trying to balance all the safety measures here. And you keep doors open, it's one less surface you have to touch. So we understand that. But that, again, will be business by business, decide how to do that. Angela, do you want to say anything else about that, or? No, okay. The other thing was the person in charge from 590, the food code, is also the person in charge of the safety protocols. So they piggybacked on what already exists in 590. And the PIC, which you guys are used to, is also the person enforcing this with the employees and with the customers. Cleaning commonly touched surfaces, especially restrooms, they want to see a log. So a cleaning log of those restrooms, initial date and time when it was done. And if there is a positive case, either a worker, a patron, or a vendor, and that might cause an exposure in your establishment, would be closed for 24 hours and follow CDC guidelines for the cleaning. And then you'll also be working, depending on where the case worked with the local health department, we might be calling you as far as doing case investigation and contact tracing. So those are just some things I pulled out of the safety standards. But again, I think just like last time, I thought the Q&A went really well, and I want to be here to answer any questions you guys might have.
Sego, we received a question in the chat box about whether or not lightweight pop-up tents, you know, need to be noticed in the application or approval from the town. And yes, we would like to know if you're proposing one of those tents. I think the building inspector is just going to be interested in knowing who's going to use those and maybe recommending measures to secure those tents better than the way they come out of the box. What nobody wants to see happen is a wind pickup and have one of those tents fly down the street and possibly injure someone. So we want to make sure that any tents that go up are properly secured. This time of year, weather conditions can change and thunderstorms can come along and get windy. That we know use a tent and we
Any questions? You guys had a lot last time. Did we answer them all?
Sego, can you hear me? This is Joe from Lewis's.
Yes, hi Jeff.
Hi, so times, what time do we have to have it shut down by?
Great question. Is there a time limit in the regulations, Paul?
Regulations don't address that. I would assume that it would be the normal hours, but there may be something that the selectmen may want to address in their review and approval of the application.
Okay, I actually have two more. So I know in the guidelines it says that no tables greater than 6 people. But what if you, like, for instance, I have a friend, they have 5 kids. Are they allowed to come out to dinner?
So it's 5 kids and then a couple, so 7 people?
Right,
And they all live together in the same household?
right. So it's a husband, wife, and 5 young kids. And just as an example, like, what if you know that there's more than 6 in a household?
I would take that on a case by case. I think I wouldn't want people using that as a loophole to say they all live together, so therefore they can sit together.
Right.
If it's a family, of course, and it's obvious, I think that's a hard
I know
one.
it's tough. I just figured I'd ask that question.
Yeah, and I can definitely imagine that coming up. So I think you're gonna have to use your judgment. And if it's a
Okay.
family that lives together, and maybe that's the next question. If a party comes in that's bigger than 6, you just ask them, "Are you all household family members?" If they say yes, I think it's fine.
And then if we would decide to put like speakers for music, is that allowed?
I don't think the regulations address it, Paul.
The regulations don't address that or regulate it. I think that, if music is at a reasonable level, that it's not going to disturb any of your neighbors, then that would be fine.
But if we could
Thank
make
you.
sure to see it on the plan, if you have speakers
Absolutely.
out.
Yep. I think that's all I had.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, Maria?
Yes, Sego. So my place normally has 6 tables, so I need to use 50% of that once we open, correct? Is that the case?
No, you are not. So once you open, it is not restricted by any percentage or occupancy. It's restricted by your capacity to put the tables. And really, actually, it's the people. So, it's a little confusing. You want to make sure the people can maintain a 6-foot distance. So it's really dictated by how many tables you have and how much space you have.
Correct.
So if you need to just remove one table to be able to allow that spacing, then you can have that amount of table. It's not restricted in percent-wise or occupancy-wise. It's restricted in your ability to maintain that social distancing.
Okay, so yeah, it's not too much room in here, but even outside, it looks kind of dangerous for me to put tables only because there is a bus stop right in front of the store. So I don't know how feasible that is, or is it?
What about not necessarily at your front door or along the side? It's a smaller sidewalk there. I'm not trying to remember how wide it is. Could you fit a table there?
I can only, but it's more dangerous than the front, I think. People take those turns, they're sharp turns, and there's not too much space from the sidewalk to the street. If anything, it has to be to the front, I think, but I don't know what I'm allowed to do at this point. Exactly. And if that's too much, that's okay. I don't have to have tables outside. It would be nice, maybe just one. But I need to make sure that that's okay with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the intent. Oh, go ahead, Paul.
Maria, I would encourage you to submit an application and show where you would put that one table. And I think put that in onto the sidewalk. That's all you're thinking about now. I would encourage you to make make it work.
Did you hear that, Ria? I had trouble hearing him. Were you able to hear?
Yeah. You're breaking up, Paul. I couldn't hear the whole conversation, but I need to submit an application, you're saying, of where I should put the tables.
Yes, I would, if you're putting it, well, I'd want, and I would encourage you to.
Well, you need to hold it there because you're not coming through. So the short answer is go ahead and submit an application, and we'll be in touch with you. We'll try to find a way to make it work for you.
All right, thanks.
And Pat actually gave a good suggestion, and he said maybe talk to your neighbors to see if you can shift the table, maybe not right in front of your establishment, if that'd be something they'd be amenable to. That was a good suggestion.
My neighbor is the barber, and I think he has a line of people waiting every day and sitting on the benches just waiting for their turns to go in. So I checked into that, but I don't think it's very promising.
Okay. Well, and we want to make sure he's doing by appointment only also, so they shouldn't be too big of a line waiting out there.
He is. That's why people are waiting outside, but I think he needs all the space he can get. That's what I'm saying. All right, so we'll make it work somehow, I guess. It's a bumpy start.
I can bring you in.
Oh, Angela, go ahead.
Hi, I know that everybody's working as fast and best as they can, and I was just wondering, in an ideal situation, if you have everything in place with your application, what kind of turnaround can we expect to be approved? I realize there's a lot of people and a lot of reviewing that has to take place, but in general terms, are you hoping to turn this around quickly, days, weeks? Like, how long do we can, in an ideal situation, expect a turnaround for approval?
But we're looking to expedite them as quickly as possible. There's two avenues here. There's those who are serving alcohol and those who aren't. The alcohol service might take a little bit longer just because that has to go before the Board of Selectmen. If there's no alcohol service, we can do that administratively. What we're looking to do now is any applications we receive up until the morning. I actually have staff coming in Saturday morning. We're going to review them all. We'll be calling you and trying to work on them Saturday. The board will be meeting Monday with the goal of getting everything approved by Monday that we've already gotten in. You can apply anytime. Our goal is as soon as possible. If you can get them in by Friday evening, by email or by like 9 o'clock on Saturday, we'll have staff in here all day Saturday reviewing them. We're going to reach out to you. We're sort of doing a team review all at once. That way, if the building inspector has a problem, the goal is hopefully Saturday morning they can reach out to you and say, hey, listen, you know, you're using space you can't use, or here's a problem with the tent or whatnot, and then get back to the rest of the group and make sure all the different departments that have to approve it, we're all going to be right there to get them done. So the sooner you can get it emailed in, the better. If you know what your plan is, but you can't get your plan up and running in a week or two, that's fine too. As long as the plan doesn't substantially change from what you get us, just get us what your plan is, and you can say, I'm going to have, you know, fences here, and I'm going to have stanchions here, and I'm going to have a tent here and tables here. We understand it might take you a couple weeks to do that, but just get it in, and as long as that's your plan, we'll get them reviewed within a few days. It just takes time for the selectmen to meet, but anything we get up to Saturday morning, we've already gotten about 4 or 5 in, we will get approved Monday morning. So our goal is to get as many of these that we get in by Saturday ready to go Monday morning, so ready for a Monday evening or a Tuesday evening opening. Assuming the governor allows us to do so on Monday. That's the other caveat, that we're going along with that assumption.
And this might not maybe I need to reach out separately to the Board of Health, but in the application, it said something about, you know, if people wanted to grill outside, that's a separate approval process. Is there something written up about that I can research on what you would need if you wanted to grill outside?
I would have that conversation with Sego separately, because the regulations seem to say no outdoor cooking, but on a case-by-case basis, reach out directly to the health department, because that's one of those things where they may say, you know, no outdoor food preparation. Well, what does that mean? But reach out directly if you're tending to do that.
Okay, thank you.
if I may, this is I have a question in regards of the safety again. Now, you know that most of all the sidewalks, we have trees on the sidewalks, and trees brings debris and insects and whatever it is. So what is your suggestion about that? I mean, safety wise, I mean, people are sitting at the table, trees are next to them. We cannot cut the trees, so the trees are there. That's one thing. That how do we deal with those? There are so many things. We know the frustration that everyone is facing today in regards of making things work, but we want to make sure also at the same time, the customer, when he sees something falling in his plate, he's not going to say, this came from the kitchen or this came from the tree. You know what I mean? And then going back to the Board of Health with all the whatever is related to.
Yeah, I mean, we would have, if somebody did file a complaint, we would come out and just speak to you about it. And obviously, if it's something from the trees, we're not going to do anything about it. I think if people don't realize that when they're outdoor dining, it's kind of common sense for them. It's nothing that we would come down on you for. You guys know, we get complaints on everything. And we usually just come out and we speak to you about it. It doesn't go to enforcement right away. We first come and we hear, what happened.
Yeah, it's a big hassle for all of us, but hopefully we're gonna get over it and soon. And do we have any idea about the reopening? I mean, about the indoor? I mean, do you have any guidelines or anything that is being said about that?
Well, the safety standards also address indoor dining. As far as when it will happen, we don't know.
Okay, that's what
But the same standards would apply for indoor and outdoor.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I am optimistic about Monday, fingers crossed. The data has been looking good. We have 2 more days of data trends to look at to see if we open on Monday. We will hear on some point on Saturday whether we are going to phase 2 for Monday.
Okay.
And that'll be from the governor.
Thank you.
It's Maria again from the Common Cafe. Can I ask something else or suggest perhaps? We have a beautiful park across the street from us. Is there any way the more benches are going in, or maybe some tables, so people can grab their food and go and eat there? Or how do you feel about that?
Well, I'll jump on that one. A couple of things, Maria. We are looking at adding a couple more picnic tables to the town common. We're running into some of the same supply chain issues other folks are. The other thing we're looking at doing is starting around the middle towards the end of the month is closing off Central Street on the weekends. So that would just be really in front of the theater. We would close off Friday, Saturday, Sunday. About 20 or 25 tables out on the street. We put down some turf, have the common sound system up and running. The idea is to create a gathering place on Central Street. That's really more designed for restaurants that are doing takeout, and it's not specific to a restaurant. But that's a project we've been working on for the Central Street in front of the theater for a while. We're just bringing it together as sort of a communal outdoor dining area Friday, Saturday, and Sundays.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you.
Angela had a question in the chat. Why do the guidelines recommend disposable silverware or sanitized silverware? Everything else is sanitized. The customers eat from. So I think the idea is to encourage disposable products, and I'm trying to find that section in the standards, just to clarify on it.
Sego, this is Angela. I can take that if you like.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Angela.
So, as far as utensils, it does say that place settings utensils must be either single use or sanitized after each use. Utensils should be also rolled and prepackaged. Tables should not be preset to reduce opportunity for exposure. So just keep that in mind. Same thing with condiments, folks. Just keep in mind condiments and similar products like salt and pepper and salad dressing. They should not be preset on tables and should instead only be provided upon request. And served in single service portions, like small plastic cups or glass.
So just to, so we're fine with using our own plates and silverware as long as it's obviously, ran through the dishwasher at the end of it, right?
Correct, yes. If you're gonna use your own silverware, obviously, yes, after it's used by the customer, sanitize it through the dishwasher, as you usually do, that's fine. But we don't want those tables to be preset with those utensils being exposed. Make sure to roll it into a napkin or a cloth napkin.
Any more questions?
I have just one thing I want to mention. We're looking into grant opportunities to help restaurants with outdoor dining. And there'd also be the opportunity of helping some businesses affected by COVID-19. We're not sure we can do anything yet. Paul may have mentioned this earlier. I was a little late to the call. We're trying to identify a funding source. We think we may have, but like everyone, we have to wait for our accountants to tell us that it's okay to spend certain money, but we might be able to have a small amount of money. It would be a grant program by lottery to help with some of the cost of outdoor dining. We should know hopefully by the end of the week, if not early next week, if we have any funds we can make available for that. That was one announcement. The other one is we are looking at, we're willing where we can to close off streets on occasion. We'd be interested to hear, for those of you along the Washington Street corridor, if we did close Washington Street off Saturday nights in the summer, similar to how we do it for Norwood Day, but it would just be a large outdoor seating area for your specific restaurant. If you'd be interested in that, you gotta let me know in particular, or Paul or Segal, and we can pitch that to the Board of Selectmen if we think there'd be some interest in that.
So I just want those that want outdoor dining to definitely get your plan in, because we would like to get a lot of them reviewed and to the selectmen on Monday, so we can, have it ready to go when the governor says it's okay to go.
I actually had two more questions. One was, does the furniture all have to be brought in at the end of the night, or can we figure out a way to secure it outdoors? And with so we're taking up the sidewalk. Once approval goes through, does the town come in and I know they're going to use the street parking as the temporary sidewalk. Do they come and put some sort of barrier up, or how does that work?
So sort of on a case-by-case basis, once we approve it and we know what you're doing, we'll look at, do we need to block off part of the parking, all the parking, some of the parking? We may run into an issue getting our Jersey barriers in as quickly as we can. We are looking at an option for stanchions from a local vendor that would help anyone having trouble finding those as well. So it's still sort of a case-by-case basis. Once it's approved, we'll decide what we need to do, and then it'll get added to a work order. As for the furniture being outdoor and bringing it back in every night, Paul, I guess we hadn't really thought about that. I think we would, be okay with that, with the understanding that if it causes a problem, we need you to bring it back in. And it's really up to you if you'd feel safe leaving it out overnight. I mean, we've had the same discussion. I don't know if somebody's going to steal restaurant furniture, but it seems to be at a premium. So I guess a case-by-case basis, if you just got a couple of tables that you're putting out there that you're not too worried about, as long as it doesn't cause a problem, we'll say for now, yes. And if it's a problem, we may have to say, bring your furniture in.
There's a question in the chat. I think it's similar to what Tony was just saying. Can I use my indoor furniture outdoors daily and bring it back inside every night? I think that's fine. The thing is, just make sure the whole thing needs to be cleaned and sanitized between patrons too. But bringing indoor furniture outside is fine. Can we add an existing structure? And if so, will we be able to keep it? You can't damage the sidewalk at all. So I guess, Mark, I don't know what you mean by an existing structure. You can put out planters, you can put out stanchions. So I don't know if you want to chime in on that, Mark, just so we can make sure we answer that. Okay, he'll either type it out or speak.
We have a garage, so we're wondering if we added an awning or something to that next year, would we be able to keep that area as outdoor seating? Like, will we be able to use it in the future as outdoor seating?
And where are you from?
The Cafe Venice in South Norwood, sorry.
Okay, thanks.
Is it your property or is it town property?
We own the garage. It's our property.
It would really come down to whether or not it's a zoning issue, but we would be willing to work with you to try to, I mean, get us the idea and the plan, and then what we can do is we can see long-term, once we're outside of the emergency, what needs to be done to make that happen, and if it's something we can do, we'd like to try to help make it legitimate going forward. We understand some of you are going to be concerned about making a large investment for what might be a short period of time, and if there's something we can do to permanently make that happen, we'd like to, but that runs into zoning. Some of those things we can sort of skip over for now because a lot of this is done under emergency authority, but put it in your plan or send in an email specifically with maybe even a sketched out diagram, and we'll have the building inspector look at it and see if it's something we think could be done permanently.
And then it looks like your second question, can we use an open garage as an outdoor dining? An open garage would not be considered outdoor because it would really just have one side open.
Yeah.
So a roof is okay, but not to have three sides covered.
Okay. That's fair.
I have a question. This is Maurice again. Have you been coordinating with the police department in regards of the parking on the street in case there is an excess of time, seating, whatever it is, people are parked on the street? So are they going to be ticketed, or is there going to be an issue with the customers? Sitting for like 2.5 hours or 2 hours or 3 hours or whatever time it is, and it's a 1 hour parking outside.
Are you talking about how long they're going to be sitting? If you take a parking space and you have tables out there, how long the folks are going to be sitting there?
I'm talking about the other side. Let's say people are parked across the street, not in front of my restaurant, and they overstay, let's say 2 hours or 3 hours. This is the dining or lunch or whatever it is.
If they're going with outdoor dining, we're not gonna go after them for that. Understanding that it's sort of part of what we're trying to encourage.
Okay, that answers it. Thank you.
We have another question. If outdoor dining doesn't work and 3 sides of the establishment have windows, can I have the windows open and let some people in keeping 6-foot distance? Not at this time, not at the beginning of phase 2. That hopefully will happen later at phase 2 when indoor dining is available. Outdoor dining really means out, not in a building at all. Out in open space. A roof is fine, but you can't have any sort of enclosure around it.
That being said, reach out to the planning department. They may be able to find a creative way to help you out with the outdoor dining.
I have a question. Sego?
Yes, Carolyn. Hi.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Hi, it's Carolyn. So if you have outside dining and you have a hostess and she's the person who's seating the people and making them, wear their masks to the table and back, did you say that you feel it's best to have another station for takeout? Or can we operate from one station?
I think that you'd have to judge how busy. Yeah, Angela, what do you think? I think it depends how busy you are. If there's a lot of people gathering,
and that depends. How do we know? How do we know how we're going to be busy? So, what do you think?
Unfortunately, it's going to be the establishment's job to police that. And if things get busy, it should be separated and maybe designate another spot. As long as people can maintain social distancing, and there should be no gathering and waiting of large numbers of people in one area. And by large numbers, 5, 6, 7 people.
So there should be signage saying that, dining this way, takeout the other way.
Yes,
and that would
always
suffice
great.
for that, I suppose, right?
Yeah, signage not only.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Signage helps your customers, but it also helps us understand.
One final question, Sigal, if I may. One final question.
Sure.
Now, we have next door neighbors. I know the space is 20 seats, what I have at the restaurants, and we have a capacity of 232 seats indoor. So how about the 2 sides of the restaurants outside? Can we use those spaces, which is like next door, can we use those spaces too as an extra to add more tables outside? I don't know if I was clear by explaining it. So I'm right in the middle between 2 buildings, and the 2 buildings there, like they have a store, but they don't have any doors, or it does not, there's no entrance or exit, Can we use those spaces? It's on the sidewalk. Can we use those spaces to add more seating outside?
Tony, Paul, I'm thinking yes, as long as the
Yeah, the
neighbors
short
agree.
answer is yes. One of the reasons we're sort of reviewing the applications as a team is we're going to reach out to some of the other businesses downtown, and we're going to make a decision based on what's in the best interest of everyone. So if you have a business that closes at 5 p.m. on a Saturday, is there really any reason that, you can't use space in front of their restaurant? The answer is no. If there's no actual activity going on, then yes. If that's not a normal egress, we're going to try to give you as much space as you can to help things run.
Okay. Thank you.
And then the question was, is this something being considered seasonally if it works well? I think we're looking, I'll let you answer that, Tony. The street closings maybe, but I don't know about all the sidewalk tables.
So if I could wave my wand and ignore zoning and planning and boards that I report to, then the short answer would be yeah. I mean, if it's successful and it's good for businesses and it's good for the town, we've wanted to, make downtown and make the restaurants in town more vibrant for years. And if this is a way to do it, we'd be all for it. What that's going to come down to is is it successful? And then it's making sure that the elected boards in town hear from you, restaurant owners, that it did work and you want to do it again. That's important as well. A lot of restaurant owners, not just in Norwood, but everywhere, reached out to the state and really hammered them about letting them sell beer and wine as takeout. And then that happened. Enough people reached out saying that you need to shorten the liquor licensing process. That's something we'd like to happen permanently. It's ridiculous that it has to go through a public hearing and weeks of notice just so you can put a table outside and, sell a bottle of beer. It's done everywhere in the world. So we would like to do it. Closing Central Street off, closing Washington Street off for Saturdays. If we close a street or two here and then South Norwood, if they're successful and they work and they're good for your businesses, we would certainly like to do that. We just got to make sure we hear from you that it's successful and that it works. And it's important to hear for those of you it works for, and those of you who maybe it doesn't necessarily apply to, still weighing in and letting people know it's a good idea, because it helps, business as a whole is helpful. We can do anything as long as there's sort of support and folks willing to let their elected officials know that it's helpful to them. We talk about, as an example, we talk about closing Washington Street, and I sometimes hear, well, the businesses wouldn't like that. Well, I hear businesses that say, yes, on Saturday nights, we'd love to do it. So hearing from you, and we can't please everyone, but the more we can hear from you, the more we can do things like this permanently. If they work, we want to do them. Knowing that outdoor dining in Massachusetts is reasonably limited to just a couple months anyway, but that makes it even easier to say, look, at going forward from May to October, maybe we do have all the outdoor seating.
I have one more question for Sego. We're open here from 7 until 3. We're a breakfast and lunch place. So if it makes sense for me at times to prolong those times, is it okay if I change my hours of operation, or do I need to apply for that as well?
I would just shoot us an email just as it's part of your plan review process. I don't see anything that, just letting us know. There's nothing we would deny on that. If you have major changes in your menu, like adding a whole dinner menu and operations that you didn't do before, we would just want to know about it. For example, if you just wanted to start doing sushi for some reason, we need to know that to make sure that you follow the regulations on that. So it's just letting us know. Just
no, I just thought it would be more profitable to stay longer hours or shift my hours basically to accommodate more people, because nobody wants to sit out there in the middle of lunch perhaps, but maybe more people in late afternoon. That's why I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, there wouldn't be a problem with your food permit. And like I said, just shoot Angela or I an email or both.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Well, definitely encourage you to get in those applications, latest Saturday morning, because we're going to be reviewing them and hopefully get as many as we can to the selectmen for approval on Monday. Oh, Charlotte.
Hi, thank you, Segal. I just wanted to introduce myself for people that are on the call and don't know me. I'm Charlotte Walsh. I'm the current president of the Friends of Norwood Center, and we are here to help you at this time. Right now, you know, what we've been able to do is facilitate meetings like this. This meeting came about because a restaurant owner approached me and was asking me questions about what the town was doing, and I thought, well, why don't we all get into this virtual room together? So a lot of people have ideas, and if you know, you can approach me with them, I think we can help facilitate and make things happen. Also, if you're a restaurant and you're on social media, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, please post stuff, and I will do my very best to amplify that voice and get it out to our followers. And I think we all know, as we're living more lives that are closer to our homes and more on our phones, social media has become a very, very powerful tool during this time, and delicious pictures of photos really make a difference for all of you as business owners. So be sure to tag us, and we'll do our best to spread the word around. But I just want to introduce myself and say hello, and we're here to help you. So that's it.
Thank you, Charlotte, and thanks for doing that. And I think Tom O'Rourke also wants to speak. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, hi, Tom O'Rourke from the Neponset River Regional Chamber, and I just want to echo what Charlotte was saying. Likewise, if you share stuff on our social media pages, we're happy to spread the word. And also, we've been collecting information about those who will be participating in the outdoor dining. So if you are going to offer it and you want to let us know, we'll be putting all the restaurants that we know are offering outdoor dining up on our website, and again, trying to get the word out to people to let you know that you are going to be open. So if that's the case, please let us know. Thanks.
Angela?
So I just want to remind everybody about the floor plan. Just if you can be as detailed as possible on that floor plan, make sure it's legible, obviously, as well. That's just going to expedite the process. Because if it is not, we're going to reach out to you. It's going to, take some time, and the back and forth, maybe playing phone tag. So again, provide as much detail as you can on the floor plan, as Segal mentioned earlier, and it will just expedite the process. And the last thing I want to add is the requirement for menus is touchless menus, either paper menus, single-use menus that are discarded after each customer, or you can use a display board like a chalkboard, a digital menu. Customers can go on their phone and look at the menu. But it cannot be the shared menus that most places have. Just keep that in mind. Okay.
Yeah, really look through that standard. They have a checklist, and I think it lays that out pretty well. But also reach out to Angela and I if you have any questions on the safety standards. Clarify any of those issues. And before we finish off here, Angela and I have been working with the food safety program and working towards the federal FDA standards. And one of those goals is to create a community forum and regular communications with the industry. So I hope this is really a start of something, and we continue this past the COVID emergency and have open dialogue between the health department and then the food service industry in town. So I hope this is the start of something big.
We have one last question. Bathroom usage.
Yes.
What do we do about that? Or do we let people come in and use the bathroom?
Yes. Oh, there you go. I couldn't see you. Yes, you can let people use the bathroom. That's the traffic flow that we want marked, though, on the ground, directional. And just make sure they're wearing their face coverings and that those bathrooms are cleaned regularly and logged. But in the outdoor dining period, they can use your indoor bathrooms. Yes.
Do we have to let them use the bathrooms?
That's a whole nother issue.
Okay.
Technically, yes.
We're just curious. Not that we were thinking of not, but
it depends on your setup. If they have to go through the kitchen, we'd like them to be escorted. And then there are some disability rights where if somebody needs a bathroom, you have to give them access to it.
All right. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Any last chance for questions? Oops, something in the chat. Hold on. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you all for signing on. Like I said, I hope we continue this communication. I think it's a great thing we do. We'd like to do it regularly.
Thank you, guys. You're doing a wonderful job. Thank you very much, guys. Good luck.
Thank you, Maurice. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, take care.